All right, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna open up Materialize Magics. And then you're gonna go to Build Preparation, New Scene. In this case, we're gonna be working with the big substrate, so we're gonna use this profile. If you were gonna work with the RBV, the reduced build volume, you would choose EOS, reduced build plate. All right, so this plane symbolizes the substrate, the big substrate, and then these red circles are where the bolts for the big substrate are at. So you don't want to place anything on those red cylinders. So to place your part, you're going to go to File, Load, Import Part. And in my case, I'm going to use this part. It's going to ask you which orientation you want. I'm just going to choose the original because I can change the orientation in the software. So this is my part, and you can see how it's not on the substrate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it on top of the white plane, which is the substrate. So to do that, I go to Position, Translate, and then I can specify the coordinates here, or I can just grab this arrow and move it over the substrate like that. And that looks pretty good, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Now I want the part to be rotated 45 degrees because that's just part of the project. Your project might be different, so that just depends on what you're trying to do. But for us, we're going to rotate it 45 degrees. I think it's the y-axis, so like that. This is 0. And then I'll click OK. Okay, now it was actually the x-axis, so I'm going to do Control-Z. I'll go back to rotate, and then I'll do 45 on the x, click Enter, and that's what I want. But the part is going below the substrate, and that's not what I want. I want it to be on top of the substrate, so I'm going to go to Translate, and you can see how the z-axis has -68. That's because it's going -68 millimeters under the substrate. We want it to be like 5 millimeters above. So I'm going to do 5, click OK, and that's how I want to print my part. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make my supports. So to do that, I go to Support Generation. I go to Manual Supports. Another way to do it is to go to Generate Support. That generates the supports automatically. But since this is a complex part, and because we don't want supports, we want to specify where the supports should be. We don't want the software to create them. We're going to go to Manual Support. So once we're in manual support, I want to select which surfaces should have supports. So I'm going to go down here to mark plane, and then I'm going to choose this plane and this plane. And then I'll go up here to surfaces, create new surface. And then I want to create supports on that surface. So I go over here, and in this case, I'm going to use the block type support. So I click on block, and it'll generate the supports. So if you go here to view, support visibility, if you don't see your supports, this is probably turned off, so just click on that, and then you'll see your supports. Here in support parameters, you can change some of the support settings, and this will just depend on your print. There will also be a presentation that you can see provided by EOS. If you don't have access to that presentation, just look at the folder where the EOS manual is at, and the presentation should be there. So I won't go into this because I'm going to do this later, but all you should know is that this is where you can change all of the parameters for the support, and it varies based on your part. So now that I did that, I also know that I want to create supports on this surface. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go to mark triangles, and I'm going to select the surfaces that I want. In this case, it's these. So I'm just going to select those. Like that, and then once you have all your triangles picked out, you go back to create new surface. And then on the tab, and on the type tab, you go to block. And then it'll generate the supports again for that surface. And if you go up here to the right top corner, you can see support IDs. And you can click this arrow and you can see the supports that you've made based on the surfaces that you chose. So this one, and then here you can toggle between these two and change the parameters for your support. So I'm going to exit out of the support generation, and you can see how the blue part is my supports, If you want to change that after you've exited, you can still click the part and then go to support generation and go back to manual support. And you should still be able to switch between your supports and change the parameters. If you go online and you go to Magix support generation, you should see some videos on YouTube like these. These are for more complex parts. You can just watch these videos and see how they do it, because every part's going to require different support structures, especially if you have complicated parts like this. So I would encourage you, if you have a complicated part, to watch some of these tutorials. Okay, so now that you have all your supports done, you're gonna exit out of the support generation module. I'm gonna click no because I'm gonna save it another way. So click no. By the way, some of the stuff that I changed for my supports were the you can change, for example, hatching teeth, which is the shape of these triangular teeth that are right below the part. You can change that. You can change fragmentation, which is like the spacing between these large squares. You can change that. That just reduces the amount of supports that you need, and it'll make removal of the supports easier. You can change a bunch of stuff in this in these parameters, and that just depends on the part that you're going to print. So once you do that, you exit out, and then you need to save both the part and the supports. So first I'm going to save the part. So I'll go to File, I'll go to Save All in Directory, and then I'm going to save it in my pen drive. I'll create a new folder. And I'll save it there. Click OK. Okay, so once the part is saved, now we want to save the supports. So you'll go to support generation and you'll do export support, and you want the STL file, and then you'll click OK. And then just to check, let's go to the folder. And you can see that this is the original, or this is the turbo ring, and then the _0m file is the support file. So we're going to go into the EOS software and import these two files in there, and that's where we're going to change all the parameters for the laser, and then finally upload the file to the machine. You should probably save this file, this Magix file too, just in case. So just go to Save As, Save Project As, just in case you need to come back and change the supports. You're going to find that the supports are sort of like a trial and error thing. Maybe sometimes it's going to break and you're going to have to reprint, change the supports, and see what works for you. It just depends on your part geometry and your material.